Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks for checking out today's video, much appreciated. Guys, today we're gonna give you some tips and advice on fishing a jerkbait in the fall time of the year, and I'm gonna show you my favorite jerkbait that I like during the fall, specifically in the month of October, November. I think it's gonna add up to some good fish for you guys. So real quick guys, before we get started, I just wanna invite everybody out there, if you haven't had a chance, to please consider subscribing here to Intuitive Angling, subscribing to the channel. Right now we've got, I think, only 40% of the people that watch Intuitive Angling are actually subscribed, and it's a good way to help the channel if you want to hit that subscribe button on there. So much appreciated with that. Okay guys, we talk about jerkbaits a lot here on the channel. You guys know that I've been working with Megabass since 1992 and helped develop the Megabass Vision 110 in the late 90s. And I just love catching them on a jerkbait. Jerkbait is arguably, it's right there with a jig on my favorite lure to fish. I mean, there's nothing that beats a jerkbait bite as far as they hit it. So we're gonna talk about jerkbaits a lot. And what I wanna talk about today, guys, is during the month of sort of like late October into November, my favorite jerkbait and my favorite technique to fish a jerkbait. I wanna go over that. And that is a big giant jerkbait like this Megabass Canada. Now, to give you guys a size comparison, we've talked about the Canada before in some videos, but if you haven't seen it, this is the biggest jerkbait Megabass makes. And here is the Vision 110 in correlation, the size difference with it. You can see how massive of a bait this is. It's about 7 inches long or bigger. It's fairly flat like that. And there's two different versions. You got a Canada and then a Canada plus one, which goes deeper. But the straight Canada will dive probably anywhere between like 6 to 8 foot deep, depending upon the pound test line that you throw. And guys, this is the bait that I like to throw in the late fall into November, is this big oversized jerkbait. And we've talked a lot about on the channel the last couple of months about lure sizes in the fall, because there's some lure categories like topwaters and stuff like that that work better if they're larger, and other baits like crankbaits and spinner baits, they work better if they're a little bit smaller. And jerkbaits, you can catch them on all different sizes, but for the technique I want to explain to you guys here, it takes a big giant jerkbait. This is what triggers those fish to bite on it. And you have to have just the right set of technique, or the right set of conditions for this to work. Now, this is going to work. Here is the ideal situation, and you can catch some fish on either side of that window, but here's what you want to look for. It needs to be a man-made impoundment, some type of lake that, is formed by a dam. You've got to have water visibility of really ideally around 4 foot clarity. You can get away with 3 foot on the minimum side of it, and into over 10 foot visibility. But I really like that window, say 3.5 foot of visibility to like 6 feet of visibility. This is when this technique's gonna work the best. So you gotta have the right water clarity. The next thing you have to do is you have to have the right day. You got to have a day that's got some type of clouds in the sky. Particularly, it's better if it's cloudy, although a partly cloudy sky will work, but you got to have wind with that. If you don't have a pretty stiff wind, it's hard to get a bite on this big giant jerkbait. So you got to have cleaner water. You got to have some sort of like semi-low light conditions, and you need a wind of at least 10 to 15 miles an hour. I prefer like a 15-mile-an-hour wind out of the south. So low light conditions, south wind, fairly good breeze, clear water. That's the conditions you got to have. The next thing is the type of areas you got to fish it on. This is pretty much extensively relegated to fishing bluff banks and sometimes bluff points. But my favorite way to fish this thing is I get on main lake bluffs in the October, November, and just parallel those bluffs depending upon the water clarity. The clearer the water, the farther I'm throwing out, but I'm trying to put my boat in say 5 to 20 foot of water. I'm making long casts parallel down that bluff bank, and I'm working the bait pretty fast. I throw it, and this is one bait I do work on a bait caster. 99% of the time I'm fishing a spinning rod, but this thing's so big that you got to use a bait caster. So I'm using it on that Megabass 110 Special, a Roshi rod, casting it out there and just jerking it pretty hard and not stopping, like jerk, 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 pause for a second, jerk, 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 pause for a second, not over like a second. I'm wanting to keep that bait really moving hard and darting actively like that. So it's just going through the water just hard like that. I'm not like jerking it down, letting it set, and twitching a little bit, letting it set. I'm keeping the bait moving all the way to create a reaction strike. And that's what you have to have in that clear water to create that reaction strike when those water temperatures are a little bit warmer. Now this bait, guys, since it does make a little bit of noise, it's got the balancer system in it, and it's a big, large bait with a wide body, it will pull a fish from a long way away. So if you're in water visibility that's like 5 to 6 foot clarity, you can pull a fish from 30, 40 foot away to hit this thing. If there's a fish suspended out there in deeper water, it's gonna come and investigate it. If you throw this thing over 20 foot of water and there's a fish sitting on the bottom of 20, they're gonna come up to check it out. So it's designed to trigger a reaction strike from an aggressive fish with an aggressive action on there. But I'm telling you guys, when you get that set of conditions in the fall time of the year, just try that big jerkbait. I started out for years using that big giant Rapala. I think I've got them up there and show you. I'll show you what I started with, and how I sort of morphed into that. This is the bait that I got on the technique with before the Megabass Canada came out, and that's this big Rapala Mag 18. And you can see the size comparison. The Mag 18 is about the same size. This is how the technique got started with this bait, and this will still catch them, but you can see it can't even match the attention to detail of the Canada. The Canada is so much more real looking, so I've switched up to the Canada over the Mag 18. But anyway, guys, get you a few. I'll put the Baitworks link in the description. You guys can order you some there. If you get in that scenario that I just described this fall, just give it a try, man. And it's a good way to catch a quality fish. I mean, the average fish that you're going to catch on this thing is going to be close to 3 pounds. I very seldom catch anything over like 2.5 pounds on it. So just another technique to add to your arsenal, guys. Give it a try and hope it helps out. See you guys.